Hey gang, it's JC, and this is the Daily Dose for Wednesday, October 26th, 2011, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. We have great television archives at the top of the page. We'll talk about the Cardinals here in just a couple of seconds. We have our eye candy feature along the bottom of the page, which I'm going to talk about. Usually I end with that, but we're starting with it today after we talk about the Cardinals a little bit. Here's the results of yesterday's rock and roll poll question. Last Sunday was the 10th anniversary of the iPod. What's on your portable music advice? You could have paid me $1 million and I would not have guessed the answer to this question. Number one answer at 40%. Again, I just keep looking at the paper in stunned disbelief. Number one answer, I don't have one. Now, I don't know what's going on. I am mystified, and it's going to take me a long time to figure out how that's possible. We live in a digital music generation, a digital media generation, and almost half of the people who responded to this poll don't even have one. You don't have a digital music device, you don't have an iPod, you don't got nothing. Something's up with this. It's going to take me a long time to figure this out because this makes no sense to me. I have already approached a couple of people in the broadcast industry who are experts in this and sort of gurus as it applies to digital media, and sent this to him and said, okay, you tell me, because this is the 21st largest market in America, and what's going on? How is it possible almost half of our audience doesn't have an iPod or some sort of portable music device? I am stunned by this answer. Number two answer, mostly old rock and pop songs at 37%. Another 12% say you got one, but you hardly use it. So if you add that up, that's 52% that either don't have one or have one and don't use it. I am absolutely stunned by this answer. All right, let's move on. Do you think the Cardinals will force a Game 7 against the Rangers? Yes or no? Please answer over in the corner. That's our rock and roll poll question. We will have results for you throughout the course of the day. We're live again from Hooters today as we get ready for Game 6, we think, although the weather forecast, I don't know. I've heard 4 different weather forecasts already. Half of them say, 2 of them say, hey, we like to get the game in, and the other 2 are like, it's going to rain like hell. So I have no idea. But we'll be at Hooters one way or the other. If we have to come back tomorrow, we will. Of course, if the Cardinals lose tonight, season's over. Don't worry about it. Cardinals win, we force a Game 7, but we may not play. So this whole thing could be tomorrow and Friday instead of tonight and tomorrow, or tonight only. It is sort of spooky to really sort of realize the baseball season could be over tonight and really just sort of go out with a thud after all this excitement, coming from behind, making into the playoffs at all when people just sort of laughed at the idea of the Cardinals' chances, and then making it into the playoffs and having people laugh at our ability to even get through the first round, and then having people laugh at the fact that we're in the World Series and how could we ever beat the Texas Rangers, and here we are. The whole thing could really go out on this ugly thud with Albert blowing off the national media last Thursday after his error, which opened the gates for Texas and ended up in a Cardinal loss, and then Tony then Albert coming back and having this amazing game with 3 home runs and the 6 RBIs, and then having this goofy situation with Tony in Dallas the other night. This is the weirdest damn thing I've ever seen, and will the Cardinals just go out with a whimper and a thud tonight at Busch Stadium? This is really, it's really messing me up. So we'll see. Now, of course, back in 2006, Game 4 was rained out on a Wednesday, played on a Thursday, so maybe we'll have a repeat performance. Let's see. All right, as I said, and by the way, the World Series, Game 3 between the Cardinals and Texas, landed up in the top 10 along with 2 of the other games. So 3 of the World Series games between the Cardinals and Texas were in the top 10. 15.5 million people, that's a lot of people watching the World Series. Things really change when you go on over-the-air TV as opposed to basic cable. All right, as I said, normally we end with what's on eye candy, which is right below what you're looking at right now. But today we're starting with it because it's really a great story. I spent a year of my life, about almost not quite a year and a half, in Buffalo, New York. Now, I had gone to Buffalo from Washington, D.C., working with Smash and Howard Stern and stuff like that, but I didn't have a full-time on-the-air position there. I was working in management behind the scenes, and I was on the air on weekends, and Howard Stern and other people just kept telling me, they're like, JC, what are you doing, man? You belong on the air. And I said, well, I know, but there's just nothing really here full-time, so I just got to wait it out. And they're like, nah, even if you have to take a step backwards to go forward, you ought to do that. And finally, I just heard it enough times that I said to myself, you know what, these guys are right. I was trying to legitimize my career back in my early 30s by getting into broadcast management, and I just, I don't know, I guess I wasn't cut out for it. And it was not even so much a case of I wasn't cut out for management, but I was more cut out, obviously, for being on the air. So I decided to believe them, and I found a job in Buffalo, New York, and so I went there. And going from Washington to Buffalo, back then especially, because Buffalo was in the heart of the Rust Belt, especially then. And going from Washington, D.C. to Buffalo was like going from Paris to Warsaw. And it was just, the unemployment rate was something like 18%. It was snowing and cold, and I was miserable, and I hated it. And in the last part of the time that I was there, it was about a year and a half, they came to town, and I say they, the producers of the movie The Natural. Barry Levinson really had only made Diner up until that point, and so he was still a relative unknown in terms of show business, entertainment, movie making, in Hollywood and stuff like that. So they say, they're coming to town to make the movie The Natural. Like, well, why would they do that? Why are they coming to Buffalo? Well, because they needed War Memorial Stadium where the Buffalo Bills had played during the days of O.J. Simpson, and the place was falling down, and of course, The Natural took place in 1939, allegedly. And so they needed a football stadium that looked like it was the 1930s. But obviously they converted it into the baseball stadium. The funniest thing I tell people, and people think it's a joke, and it's not really, it's true, they had to do upgrades to War Memorial Stadium to make it look like it was 1939. That's how decrepit that place was. So anyhow, they come into town. We know that the producers that got to Buffalo months before the general crew and the actors and the movie stars and everything like that. And they were, working on War Memorial Stadium and building sets around Buffalo and stuff like that. And they would listen to my radio show every morning, and they really took a liking to the show. And I remember Morgan Fairchild was dating one of the guys on the crew, and so she was always in town, and there were all these Morgan Fairchild sightings all over Buffalo. So when the crew and the stars and the actors, Glenn Close, Robert Redford, Kim Basinger, all those people, finally got to Buffalo, New York, I got this call, and they were like, look, we really like your radio show, and can you come out here in the evening primarily, because for the next 2 weeks, we are going to be shooting the scenes involving baseball at night under the lights at the New York Knights. That's what it was supposed to be at the stadium. And, sometimes there's 20 minutes, sometimes there's an hour and a half in between takes. And we have like 10,000 people, and we just keep moving them, and we're all around the stadium to make it look like there's 40,000 people in the place. And, depending on the camera angle, it's like, okay, we need everybody behind first base. Now we need everybody behind third base. And they had cardboard cutouts integrated in with the crowd to make the crowd look bigger. So they said, we'll pay you $200 a night to come out, and we'll give you a turntable and some prizes and a microphone and a loudspeaker system, and just do anything to just keep these people from getting bored out of their asses. And I was like, sure, why not? So for 2 weeks, I'd go out there. I made a nice little chunk of change on the side. And, Barry Levinson would wave to me. I'd be up in the stands with the people, and he would wave to me when it was like, okay, be quiet, get out of the shot, and we're getting ready to shoot again. And then they would shoot a scene, and then he would wave to me again, and I would start up again. Well, this also gave me an opportunity to go out of the field when they were doing takes. There was a scene where Robert Redford had a ball, I think, would go off the right field wall, and he picked it up and threw it into second base. Well, I was the one standing at second base catching the ball when Robert Redford would throw it in. Now, it's not in the movie, obviously it's not in the shot. I was just standing there in street clothes with one of those old mitts from the 1930s, and I think back then you could call them mitts, because now obviously it's just catchers and first basemen that have mitts. The rest of them are gloves, but that's neither here nor there. So I was out on the field all the time, and I was talking to Glenn Close and talking to Barry Levinson. You could not talk to Robert Redford unless he spoke to you first, and he brought a football to the set every day. Anyhow, long story made short, I was out there, and so I shot lots of pictures in black and white, and I've put up about, maybe 8 or so of these pictures that I took back in 1983 when they were shooting The Natural at War Memorial Stadium in Buffalo, New York. And one little final note of trivia, Zooey Deschanel, who has a show on Fox now, she got to sing the national anthem before Game 4 of the World Series on Sunday night. Well, little known fact, her father, Caleb Deschanel, was the chief cinematographer, director of photography on the movie The Natural. So it goes full circle. How about that? So anyhow, let's see, how many pictures did I put up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 pictures that you can look at. It's some of the coolest stuff I've ever put up. And these are exclusive. Nobody else has these things. They were just shot with the camera that I had. And I'm very proud of these pictures, and I hope you enjoy it. It's a little something extra we've thrown up there for you today. All right. Andy Rooney just retired from 60 Minutes. Had an operation. Not doing very well after the operation. Not sure this looks good. Steven Tyler knocked out a couple of teeth after falling and slipping in the shower. It was just 2 years ago. He fell off a stage in South Dakota, broke his shoulder. Is that how this story is going to go? This is Toby Keith. This guy makes his road crew take urine tests, but not the band. Nice message to the music industry. All right, I heard Cochran talking about this the other day. Steve Cochran, who's on the air from 10 until noon. Here's a list of the 6 most germ-covered surfaces that we come in contact with almost every day. They are gas pump handles, mailbox handles, escalator rails, parking meters, crosswalk buttons, and vending machine buttons. According to UNICEF, the United States is number 1 in child abuse. 27 children under the age of 15 die from abuse and neglect every week. That's about 4 children a day. Going to vote for Rick Perry. Rick Perry's real first name is James. In college, he was a yell leader on the cheerleading squad, just like W. Got his nickname the Crotch because he wore pants that were so tight he constantly had to adjust them. And for all the talk about job creation that Rick Perry is responsible for in the state of Texas, just remember this. 1 of 10 hourly employees of Texas earns minimum wage, and the number of minimum wage employees in Texas has more than doubled from 221,000 to over 500,000. The Kardashians launching a line of bath towels. They're for pro athletes who are trying to wash the Kardashian off of them. And former SNL star Daryl Hammett, as we reported yesterday, says he spent time in a Harlem crack house back in the early part of the early 2000s. He was there looking for Joe Piscopo, apparently. Leno tonight, Kathleen Madigan from right here in St. Louis after the ball game, and there are 60 days left until Christmas. All right, that's it. As we said, JC's eye candy today, the great pictures from the natural, and JC's question today for you to ponder as far as the rock and roll poll question, and that is, do you think the Cardinals are going to force a Game 7? Let's see how you do. Please answer in the corner. We'll have results for you tomorrow. That's it. JC's Daily Dose for Wednesday, October 26, 2011, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. It's do or die for the Cardinals, assuming they play tonight. Let's see how it goes. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.